Hello, and welcome to Runkle of the Bailey. My name is Ian Runkle. I'm a Canadian criminal defense and firearms lawyer. Portions of Bill C-71 were recently brought into force, and this has left some potential nasty snares for gun owners. So I want to talk about that. This affects people who have restricted and prohibited firearms, and that is this section here. So, revocation of authorization to transport. All of the following authorizations to transport a prohibited firearm or restricted firearm are revoked. Authorizations issued under any of paragraphs 19, 2.1b to e, as those paragraphs read immediately before the commencement day, and authorizations issued under paragraph 19, 2.2b, as that paragraph read immediately before the commencement day, in respect of transportation to and from the places referred to in any of the paragraphs that are set out in paragraph A. All right, so let's jump to the Firearms Act just so that we know what that means, because that's not super clear. So 19.2.1, they note B to E. So A is to and from all shooting clubs and shooting ranges that are approved under Section 29. B is to and from any place a peace officer, firearms officer, or chief firearms officer is located for verification, registration, or disposal in accordance with this Act or Part 3 of the Criminal Code. To and from a business that holds a license authorizing it to repair or appraise prohibited firearms or restricted firearms, so gunsmiths. To and from a gun show, and to a port of exit in order to take them outside of Canada, and from a port of entry. So these things used to be on the automatic authorization to transport. They have now been removed. However, it's unclear how this actually ends up playing out. And the reason why is that this is actually a potential nasty snare, because it's unclear as to whether this actually covers all authorizations to transport. Because the authorization to transport that I have, the long-term authorization to transport, is one that it's one long-term authorization to transport that names all of these places. So my read on this law would be that that authorization to transport, because it includes places such as B, C, D, and E, would be one that is revoked entirely, and not just one that gets automatically transformed into one that just because it also includes shooting clubs and shooting ranges. So this is potentially nasty. It basically, my read on this, and a court could ultimately disagree, but this is a potentially expensive question, is that effectively all of the long-term authorizations to transport have been revoked. Now, many of us are, people who use our firearms on a regular basis. I am going to a shooting competition, in fact, this weekend. So upon realizing that this was an issue, I called the chief firearms officer and I actually said, hey, can you issue me a new authorization to transport? I actually tried to record that and it didn't come out well. You can't really hear what's going on, so I can't play that for you here. However, what they told me is they said, no, you've got an authorization to transport, a long-term authorization to transport. And there was some back and forth. What it became clear is that they'd actually issued me a new one on the 7th. So that seems to suggest as well that they believe that these have been revoked and that they've been issuing new ones. Now, I asked them to email me and say, hey, can you just send me something to prove, so that if I get pulled over, I can prove that I've got an authorization to transport. And they said, we don't have any way of doing that. Apparently, email is not something that they have mastered at the chief firearms offices. So that's not really a great thing for gun owners. If you are intending to use your firearms, I would suggest that you probably need to call and confirm. The reason why is because although they're probably issuing everyone a new authorization to transport, there's no guarantee. And certainly there's no guarantee, even if they're planning on issuing everyone a new authorization to transport, that you get included. Because sometimes people get missed, they fall through the cracks. I mean, if you've heard of the Phoenix pay system problems where some people were not getting paid, oh wait, that's the federal government too. So yeah, you may want to check and make sure, because otherwise I think you'd be in a very difficult spot. If they said, listen, we canceled it, or it was automatically revoked when this came into effect, and therefore you didn't have a valid one, and we didn't issue you one, and you just assumed you had it, that would be a terrible defense at trial. Listen, I heard some other people were getting it, and so I just assumed I had it too. a court's not really going to say that's enough. They're going to say, well, you need to check. Now, the downside of this is that if people are checking, the chief firearms officers are going to be slammed. But they kind of made this happen. I don't really see a way around this that doesn't put people at legal risk. So anyway, good luck over there at the Canadian Firearms Program, because the politicians kind of created a bit of a disaster here. I'm glad I checked, because as I said, I'm planning to go out shooting this weekend, including with a restricted firearm. And I feel a little better knowing that I actually had this conversation and that I have, confirmed that they say that I have an authorization to transport. So yeah, I am not a big fan of what's happened here. I think that this is a terrible implementation, notwithstanding the fact that it's also just a terrible idea to take these long-term authorizations to transport off of licenses. In my view, this was purely done as the Liberal Party wanting to undo something simply because the Conservative Party had done it. But putting gunsmiths on as a place to take your firearms makes sense. If you have a problem with your firearm, and that problem might be a dangerous problem. It might be something like a stuck cartridge that you simply can't remove, but you also don't want to leave in the gun. Well, the Canadian Firearms Program is not open 7 days a week. They're not open 24/7. So if this happens outside of their hours, like say if you are a person with a day job, and so you happen to go to the range when you're not working, or, on the weekends, then you've got a bit of an issue there. You can't just say to the gunsmith, hey, I'm bringing you something. Can you deal with it right away? No, you've got to go and store it, and it may not be legal for you to do so. It creates this bizarre scenario. So it's unclear as to why they thought that gunsmiths needed to be taken off, or taking it to the police station for destruction. Why does that need to be removed? It seems to me that anybody who wants to take that to a police station, that, kind of makes sense as a thing that you might want to be able to do. But that's the situation we're in. Anyway, as mentioned, I don't really see an alternative to calling them and checking. They've said that they're going to, when you renew your license, they will issue you a new one, and it'll have new things. They may send out some sort of communication in the future, but who knows when that'll get here. Yeah, it's a tough scenario. As I said, I had another video planned for today. It's already recorded, so when it comes out, it's not going to, or at least when I make a reference to, hey, here's what I'm doing tomorrow, that's not going to make a whole lot of sense. But this is a pressing and concerning issue, so I kind of felt that I needed to have this one jump the line, if that makes any sense. So thank you for watching. If you found this to be useful, please like this video, please share it with your friends, subscribe to see more content. I'm going to throw this one live as soon as I can. I recognize that it's Friday and it's kind of late in the day, but I've been out. Hopefully people can make use of this. Anyway, once again, thank you for watching. I want to thank as well my Patreon supporters at the $50 level: Jonathan Wheeler, Jason Elliott, Canada's National Firearms Association, Kyle Martin, Jean-Guy Toussaint, Ivo Nedev, CCFR, and the Canadian Shooting Sports Association. At the $30 level, Sights and Arms Limited and Marc-Olivier Demour. And at the $20 level, Matt Ward, Mark Whittington, Dale Nesbitt, Cameron Johnson, and Andrew Elsich. Also, thank you to everyone at the $10 level immediately following. Yeah, thank you for watching. I hope this has armed you with knowledge, and I don't know why they felt the need to create this sort of disaster. A much smarter way of doing this would have been first to just leave gunsmiths and so forth on the long-term authorizations, or to just have it so that they changed over when people renewed their licenses. That would have made more sense here and wouldn't have created this situation where you pretty much have to call in. Anyway, once again, thank you for watching. Hope this has armed you with knowledge, and see you next time.